episode of Hawk Talk here on 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater. And might I say, it is a beautiful day here. I am joined by the esteemed crew of Creston, Austin, Zach, Brendan, and Mason. How you guys doing today?
Fantastic. Like you said, great day out there.
Yeah.
Sweating.
Yeah, dude. That's the first time I can say I'm sweating and I'm happy just because of, how nice it is, dude. Almost 70. Now it's actually starting to feel like spring. I'm so ecstatic. But we're going to start with our Warhawk thought here today, and it's a little bit different. We're going to be going over, there's many factors that play into your answer, but it's going to be based off of injury, medical reasons, washed, or other reasons for who is your favorite player who had a minor stint. There's so many great players out there, but I'm just curious to see who you guys have in mind. We're going to start with Mason.
So I've got two. One of my favorite positions in the NFL is safety, and I've got one for the Packers, and that was Nick Collins, one of my favorite players to ever play for the Packers. He unfortunately had to have his career cut short there due to injury. He's been the best Packers safety since I've pretty much been alive. And then Sean Taylor. I think we all kind of know what happened to Sean Taylor. I would have loved to have seen what he would have done if given the opportunity to play out his full entire career.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Sean Taylor, man. Rest in peace to him. I wish he could have played a full career. I think he could have been a Hall of Famer, honestly. Yeah, man. That was back when the Washington was a really fun team to watch, too. Could have gone so far with them.
Sean Taylor was my other pick, so another one he stole, but I did a paper on him in high school. But I love basketball, and I got to go with Drazen Petrovic. Not many people know his story, but he came in the NBA in the 1986 draft and was off to a really, really, really good start in his career. Averaged 22 points per game in 92, 93 in his prime at 28. And from Yugoslavia, a lot of those European players were coming into the league at the time. And we truly got to see what Petrovic, Vlade Divac, what Arvydas Sabonis, what all these guys were capable of. And unfortunately, his career was cut short. He died in an automobile accident that summer back home.
Wow. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't think I've heard of that player before. When was he
So
top?
he was really good in the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, that's why.
He was drafted in 86 and by Portland, and then he went to New Jersey, and that's when his career kind of started to go up and up. He was a really, really good shooter, very good basketball player for the Nets. Was finally kind of coming into his own as a player in the league, and unfortunately, like I said, he passed away in an automobile accident.
That's unfortunate, man. Hate to see it.
Yeah, for me, I have a football player and a basketball player. Football, this one was I just had this in case no one else said it. I had RG3. So electric. I remember when he was drafted as a rookie, and that rookie season, I was really excited for Washington because Washington had never done anything in my lifetime. And I feel like that has pretty much been the only time they've been relevant since then, honestly. They haven't really done anything. So he was supposed to be the answer. Moving on to basketball, I have Lonzo Ball. This is only because he's got that knee injury, and it doesn't seem like he might ever play again. Obviously, he had a huge amount of hype and pressure going into the NBA, and kind of didn't really do what he was supposed to be doing first couple of years. Went to the Bulls, and that's when he really took off. I mean, he was 27-3 with the Bulls. They were first in the East. He was shooting 40% from three. He looked like a really elite role player as a point guard. And now he just can't play basketball because his knees messed up.
Yeah, he's been pretty injury prone. I want to say the past 2-3 years. Yeah, I remember when I first started watching basketball, he was still elite. He was still an elite player, and then they got DeMar, and then ever since they got him, it was just they were kind of phasing away from him because I think they knew it was not going to last long with him.
I have a football and a basketball. The basketball one is a guy who I was always glad to see succeed, and the Celtics really screwed up with him, and that's Isaiah Thomas. I mean, he was averaging, I think it was 28 or 29. He was leading the league, and he's my height. So it actually it's nice to see shorter guys still do good in the league, but I mean, he got screwed over by a lot of teams, and he's on the Suns now, but he's nowhere close to what he used to be, obviously. And then the football one was a personal one, and that was Jermichael Finley, because I was a huge Packer fan when I was a kid, and I always loved watching him catch the ball. And then 2013, he had a spinal cord injury, and it paralyzed him for a while, and he had to be done. But he was always fun. I mean, he was a big guy and a pretty good tight end, but never get to know what he would have turned into.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of familiar names. I mean, the second one you said, that one's not really familiar. Like, not too many people would say him, but Isaiah Thomas is definitely one that comes up a lot.
Yeah, for me, I'm surprised nobody said this one, but mine was Bo Jackson.
Oh, I knew somebody,
Yeah.
him or Derrick Rose. I knew somebody was going to
Yeah.
take one of those two.
Bo Jackson only played 38 games. I feel like there's a stat out there that Jim Harbaugh has more rushing yards than Bo Jackson did in his
That's
career.
insane.
But yeah, he was getting tackled in a playoff game against the Bengals and dislocated his hip. And then doctors found out that he basically kind of had like bone tissue decay, which means he wasn't getting blood supply, which means there was nothing like supporting his hip bone. And so he had to retire 38 games into his career, and then he played baseball for a little bit. But, I mean, Bo Jackson was dominant in the 3 years that he played. So if he would have gotten – he only retired at 28, which, I mean, for a running back, maybe some running backs' primes. So I feel like if he would have gotten at least 3 to 5 more years, nobody knows what he could have accomplished.
I think he could have hands down been a top 3 running back all time. If you give him like 10 years after that, 100%. I mean, I feel like any player that plays 2 sports at a high level is just an insane athlete.
Yeah.
But I'm actually going to have 2, and I did think of another one, so I'll just briefly mention him, both for football. One is Todd Gurley. I feel like Todd Gurley in his prime, I mean, it was around the time where they went to the Super Bowl. That whole team was just starstruck, bro. That was so great. Seeing him play, and then his fall is just so sudden. It happened so fast. I don't even know how it happened. Like, I think the time that I knew he was done was when he tried to not get a touchdown on the Falcons, and then he ended up somehow getting in. I don't even know. At that point, I was like, yeah, this guy's a bum now. But it's so sad to see, because he really could have been a top 10 running back, even like for maybe the next 10 years, if he stayed at that high level. Another one is not really his fault for how he fell out, Clay Matthews. They were just really calling almost every time he like sacked the quarterback. It was like roughing the passer, so he almost couldn't do anything. He also did have something with his jaw. I think he broke his jaw, and that took him out for the Rams. And then I believe they didn't pay him for a bit because he didn't finish the season. But then, I think it was this year he retired, right? It was either this year or last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he wasn't on a team for like 3 years, and then he finally retired. But he was a force to be reckoned with on the defense for many years and just went away.
I do have some breaking news, by the way.
Oh.
There is a arrest warrant for Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice, and there is 8 counts, including 6 of collision involving bodily harm, 1 count of collision involving serious bodily injury, and 1 count of aggravated assault. He has 24 hours to turn himself in.
Wow, that is
8 counts?
interesting.
That's ridiculous.
Wow.
Along
Another one bites the
with
dust.
the very strict marijuana laws
Wow.
in Texas, which he had quite a bit of it. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Better draft a wide receiver then.
Hey, good thing they got Hollywood Brown.
yeah.
I mean,
Adonai Mitchell, you are Kansas City.
100%. It's either him or Worthy. It's going to be one of the guys from Texas for sure. But that is
Wasted
some.
potential.
Yeah, he was pretty decent too. I mean, he was for sure going to be that starting wide receiver 1 for the next few years at least.
I'm not sure exactly what that accounts to, like jail time, or if there really is any. But
Well, we don't.
yeah,
Yeah,
we don't
we're-
dabble into that.
Yeah, we don't want to get. We just want to scratch the surface of that. But despite the breaking news, we're gonna go into the first topic. Is the West the best? For almost 20 years now, the Western NBA Conference has been super close. I mean, you're going back to like 2015, 2016 with the Houston Rockets leading that. It was like all teams were within like 4 games or so. And then even before that, you had the Warriors, and then, some other the Lakers were dominant for a while, but it's always a constant battle back and forth. But I kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts on where you would put this race. Is it going to be set in stone what it is now? And just your overall thoughts of the Western NBA Conference. Let's start with Brendan.
Without a doubt, is much better than the East. The East is very top-heavy. You have really 3 teams that I think could come out of the East, whereas the West, any team that makes the play-in and of the 6 teams that aren't in the play-in, you can make a legitimate case for them to be title contenders, maybe except OKC just because of how young they are. But just overall, the talent in the West, you have really, really good teams. I mean, for example, Golden State's 44-35. Right now, that would place them just behind Indiana for the 6th seed in the East, and they're the 10th seed in the West that just barely clinched a play-in spot. And Golden State, with Curry still being Steph Curry, you could even make a case for them to make a run for a championship still. So without a doubt, 100%, the Western Conference is the best conference in basketball, and whoever comes out of the West will have to end up facing Boston in the finals. Boston, I still think, is the best team in the league, but as a conference as a whole, the West is without a doubt the best.
I agree. I mean, if you look at the standings, the East is just like, it's almost sad compared to the West. The West is like so competitive, and the like 5 teams within 5 games is just crazy for a whole conference. Is insane.
And that's with still Wembanyama and the Spurs not having any talent. So, I mean, Spurs going to have a top pick again in the draft this year. Within 2 years, the Spurs will be back up there. The Grizzlies were the most injury-riddled team in basketball this year. They've been a 2 seed the past 2 years, so they'll be back in the mix next year. Houston's only going to get better because they have one of the youngest teams in the league. The entire Western Conference as a whole in the next few seasons is just significantly better than the East, because you still have bottom dwellers in the East that have shown no signs of any hope of getting any better anytime soon, with the Pistons, the Wizards, the Hornets that have just been kind of stuck just in mediocrity for the past 5-10 seasons. And so just without a doubt, 100%, even the teams that missed the playoffs in the West, I think if they were in the Eastern Conference, you could say they could be a 6 or 5 seed even.
I think the Spurs are going to make a jump within the next at least 2 seasons. I think that they're going to be up there with, I mean, I'm not going to say Nuggets, but maybe the Clippers, because the Clippers were, for the past few years, not that, not as where they are now. But, I feel like with the draft capital that they could potentially get and a generational talent with Wembanyama, I think that's going to push them a long way. Zach?
Well, just really quickly touching on the San Antonio Spurs, I think they need to have like a Texans-like offseason.
Yeah, I agree.
Either this past or this current offseason or the next one. I mean, you have to build around a guy like that, Wembanyama. I mean, he's already putting up 2010 with 4 blocks, possibly DPOI this year. I think he should. I don't think he will get it. I think he should. But, I mean, that is a team that for sure is going to be contending. Just going back to what Brendan said, certainly, these top 10 teams in the Western Conference, any of them can win a title, except for probably the Pelicans. I mean, Pelicans are such a polarizing team because they're good, but they don't have, like, that guy.
They're so hit or miss.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're so inconsistent.
If Zion can take that next jump, maybe, but
Well,
I still think they're an underrated team.
Yeah, I mean, Zion, just going off of what you said, Zion took a little bit of a jump from what he was for the past 2 years. I mean, he finally, I think they said that he lost like what? I forget the exact amount, but he lost a good amount of weight, and that put him back into the star territory, and he dominated for them for, at least all of March. But I think, yeah, it's similar to them with the Spurs. They kind of have to like get more in order to do more. I don't see them going completely far, the Pelicans. But who do you have winning the West this year?
I really don't see anybody beating Denver. I mean, I
agree.
just think they returned pretty much all their starters from last year. Jokic is Jokic. He's currently MVP candidate, which, speaking of MVP candidates, I mean, they have all the star power in the West. I mean, literally the top 3 contenders, I think it's Luka, Shea, and Jokic. All 3 of them are in the West. You got the Lakers in the West, a lot of star power, obviously. But I personally have Denver. I just don't see anyone beating them, as unfortunate as that is, being a Lakers fan. So, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, no. I love the duo of Murray and Jokic, though. I really do love that. I mean, seeing them in the finals was just, it was really, I think that could potentially be the best duo in the West, if not the league.
Yeah, they're so tough to beat.
Yeah,
the Spurs. You know?
And they're so dynamic, and the way that Jokic passes is just, oh my gosh, it's so good. It's like a work of art every time. He finds a new way every time. It's just speechless.
First of all, I think Luka should win MVP.
I don't know about that, but
I think he should win MVP. The West, this is really exciting. I mean, for like 3 weeks now, it's the same graphic of who's going to win, the fact that the Warriors, Lakers, and all them, it's all decided by a couple games. It's really exciting. I think the Nuggets will take first, but I don't think they're going to go all the way. I think that, in my opinion, it's a hot take, but if the Clippers are fully healthy, they are very dangerous, especially with Russ. I mean, we saw yesterday he had like 16 points, 15 assists, 15 rebounds. And even in the playoffs last year, he was extremely good against the Suns. I think if they have everybody and they all are healthy, it's really hard because Kawhi can score, Harden can mostly score, and PG can score, obviously. The one problem is they don't have a good center, so if they do go up against the Nuggets, I feel like it'll be a problem. But I like the Thunder as well, even though Shea has kind of dipped recently a little bit. I think that, again, if the rest of their role players can play really well and Chet can step up, he's going to have to step up a lot, most likely. But if he can, I don't see how they don't make it to probably the conference finals.
Okay. I mean, I agree with everything you said about the Clippers. I mean, I was even saying that at the beginning of the season. Like, they need to stay healthy, and then they have a real shot. I mean, on paper, they have the best, like, starting five, I would say. I mean, I would love to see them win it. I'm also a huge Kawhi fan, so I'll be very biased with him. But, I mean, if you put them against the Nuggets, you have the Nuggets winning? Like, let's say the Clippers are fully healthy.
I would take the Clippers.
Okay, good. Okay. I'm assuming everybody else in here would take the Nuggets.
I would take the Clippers as well.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
That is my prediction for the Western Conference Finals. Is Nuggets Clippers.
Okay.
Especially if the standings hold the way they are.
Yeah, no, I don't hate that take. With Russell Westbrook, they are certainly a different team.
He's kind of like the Pat Bev to Milwaukee. He brings the energy, whether he's on the bench or in the starting lineup. And, he always isn't the most efficient guy. But, I mean, I feel like he could probably lock up Jamal Murray. I'm not saying, like, hold him to 10 points or anything, but I think he could give him a run for his money.
Wow.
Don't disrespect Russ. Don't call him Patrick Beverly. I'm sorry.
I was thinking the same thing.
The Russ hate is so real. I know you were complimenting him, but he's much more of an impact than P-Bev. I'm a big Russell.
I mean, nowadays,
yeah,
it's a little less. But, no, obviously prior, but.
I got it. No, I was giving you a hard time.
It's not as bad as when people used to call him West Brick. I mean, that got me heated because I used to be a big Westbrook fan.
Well, and as a Lakers fan, just real quick, because you just called him Westbrook, I thought that hate for him was so unfair.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
They didn't use
that
it
was the worst situation for him possible.
And the timing of it, like they just changed the ball. So, I mean, yeah, everybody's going to use that as an excuse, but it was like the same ball for like 20, 30 years. So, I mean, he has some reason.
Russ needs the ball in his hands to be effective, and with LeBron, he just could not do that. That's ultimately why he failed with the Lakers. With the Clippers, especially off the bench, I mean, just being able to run the second unit with guys like PG and Kawhi still coming from the starting five, he's so much better. You can just tell he's happier, and his hustle is just unmatched by anyone else in the league. And I'm just sick and tired of people disrespecting Russell Westbrook. He was iconic 2015 through 2017. I know he's not quite that level, obviously, but Russ, without a doubt, deserves his flowers. And as that Clippers team is fully healthy, they're going to give a Nuggets a run for their money.
I agree. And I'm not going to lie, I completely forgot that he was on the Lakers. Like, he was just so bad there. But I tried to block that out of my memory.
Yeah, for me, I think, the West is, I'm not going to say, like, leaps above the East, but it's close. Because besides the Celtics right now, I think, the Bucks, you don't know what the Giannis injury is going to bring.
I'm so mad at the Bucks right now, man.
I thought something interesting was that the Pacific Division, so like the Clippers, Lakers, Kings, Suns, and Warriors. Did I say Warriors? I don't know. Anyway, the Clippers won the division last night, but the Warriors are only 7 games behind number 1, and they're going to put all 5 teams either in the playoffs or in the play-in, which is just absolutely insane. And then the Northwest, which has the Thunder, T-Wolves, and Nuggets, are all the top 3 seeds. So, like, you're getting these 2 divisions with 8 teams in, which is what, like, gets you into the playoffs nowadays, is you get to play in at 8. And I just feel like that's just absolutely ridiculous that 2 divisions are just completely taking up all 8 spots of a conference. Because in the East you have, I think it's like 2 3-3 or something like that. I didn't remember when I looked it up, but yeah, I was looking at it too, kind of like you were talking about. If this team was put in the West, the Raptors would be a 14 seed if they were put in the East, which is the difference between they're 12 seed in the East right now, which is the difference between getting a top 5 pick and maybe a top 3 pick. So like that just
Wow.
goes to show how loaded the West is, and just how like I don't know, they just have a mix of like vets. Obviously, you have like Kawhi, Kyrie, Harden, Jokic, but then you have the new younger talent. I'm going to put Luka in the younger talent because he's still, 24? Then you have like Shea, Anthony Edwards. So I feel like it's just a lot of like, when you look at this team, you're like, oh, this team could win. And then you're like, oh, but this team could win. And it just goes down every single, like you were saying, it's just every single time you look at a team, you're like, yeah, I could make an argument for it. And in the East, it's like Celtics, Sixers maybe, Heat maybe, Bucks maybe.
Yeah, it's a lot more solidified with the East, and something that I did just come to notice when Zach mentioned it is that most of the stars in the league are in the West. So that definitely does help. I mean, and you got like a couple of star-studded teams too. So it really does weigh the attraction of the audience for the West as well. So that helps. But what is before we move on to Mason, what is your sleeper team? Like, what team do you feel like could go a bit further than predicted?
I mean, I don't know if this is really a sleeper, but the Lakers always have a shot. They have LeBron James in
Man,
the playoffs.
why did you have to say that? He's right there. Man.
No, I know, but like, I don't care who it's LeBron James in the playoffs, and I feel like him being in the play-in gives him an extra couple games to get to that playoff stride, and I just feel like he would be maybe at 8 or 7 seed. If you're the Nuggets and especially the T-Wolves, I feel like you have to be worried about playing LeBron in round 1.
Man, anybody other than the Lakers, I wish. Mason?
So I haven't been following basketball that much, like as of like recently. Like this is kind of like my first year, kind of truly in depth with it. Looking at like the Western Conference right now, I could see the Mavs making a run just because they're 9-1 in their last 10 games, which is the best in the league. They got Luka and everything, so Kyrie, Washington, they're all really great players, and honestly, like they haven't had many close games recently. They lost to Golden State by 4, and their other most recent loss was on March 14th, almost a month ago, against Oklahoma City, and that was by 7. I kind of liken this to what the NFL has in the AFC. Like anybody could beat anybody in a certain week, and one thing that I saw with the AFC this year was just like they beat up on each other so much that like if they play a team such as like the 49ers, who didn't play very many good teams, then 49ers are fresher. So I don't know if that's going to come into play necessarily, but it's insane to see this far down like the line of a season that there's 10 teams with 44 wins were in one conference, where there's only 8 in the other conference, and the 6th ranked team is only a game behind second in the Eastern Conference.
Only in the NBA. But with saying that, do you guys think that this conference is the best in all of sports?
I feel like that's tough to say in all of sports. Mason kind of brought it up, but I do think the AFC next year for the NFL is going to be extremely competitive. I mean, we have so many young teams, already good teams like the Chiefs. I think the AFC next year is probably going to be the best, in my opinion.
The AFC? Okay. Okay, do you have a specific division in mind?
Specific division?
Because I know we talked about the AFC South quite a bit.
You could also talk about the North just because they had 3 teams. Make it
North is
last
also
year.
good.
That's what I would
Pittsburgh
say.
is-
I would say the North.
Yeah.
And it also helps that a lot of the talent from the NFC switched over to the AFC this season, or this off season. So that helps. But so I'm like a little confused of what you're saying. Are you saying the AFC is better than the Western Conference?
As overall
Yeah,
conference.
I'm
Yes.
saying.
Okay.
Yeah. I just think next year the AFC is just going to be like insanely tough.
It's gonna be fun to see. I just don't know if it's gonna be as like quite competitive all around as the Western Conference though. That's what kind of sways me to that. But I mean, so much can happen. We'll see.
My biggest sleeper team, nobody has been talking about them, and they're the 4 seed, and that's the Orlando Magic.
Orlando Magic.
Their TikToks are nice as well.
Dude, they're so nice. They're so good. They're like the Bills.
First round
They're
exits.
They are the number 1 or number 2 ranked defense, I believe. The only thing that they're missing is a true point guard. They have Jalen Suggs, who is not a true point guard, but I think if Paolo can do good as well as the Wagner twins, and if Wendell Carter Jr., Markel Fultz can have a revenge kind of tour here. I'm not saying that's probably going to happen, but I feel like the Magic, a lot of people kind of overlook them, and if you have a streaky sort of offense-heavy team, somewhat like the Pacers, and you go against the Magic, they got big size, and they're a gritty team. So I'm not saying they're going to go super far. I don't think we're going to see them in the conference finals, but first round, I think a lot of teams, if they play them, are going to be pretty surprised.
It's interesting how you mentioned an East team for the Western Conference. But
Oh, did I say that?
yeah.
Oh,
But-
you were. I thought
Yeah, I
you
was-
meant like.
No, yeah.
Overall.
I mean, that's still a great analysis. Like, I almost forgot about the Magic. I mean, weren't they on like a 10-game win streak or something like a while ago? Like, they were really
Yeah.
heating up at one point of the season, and they just shocked everybody. So, I mean, I see it. I do like Paulo. He has his moments, but I don't see them going completely far. I mean, despite everything you were saying, I just don't see it. I feel like there's better teams out there that can just knock them out real quick before they even get there. But we're going to stick with the East while we're at it, and we're going to talk about the Bucks because, oh my gosh, I last time we talked about them, they were doing so good, and now they're just I want to put my head through a wall
We're
because
going to
of them.
cancel it now, though. So now that we're going to talk about them again, they're going to start doing
Oh
better.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's what
You're right.
happened last time.
PEMDAS.
You're right. Broadcasters jinx.
So
Yeah.
we're just not going to talk about them ever after this season.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They're gonna win the whole thing after this. But that's Giannis going down last night. That definitely didn't help. And I mean, even before that, and the injuries have really been hitting us as of recently. Because there was one game where we had I'm blanking on the three. I know it was Pat Bev. I think it was Middleton, and then we had one more player out for a game, and that just completely destroyed us. So I'm hoping that he's not out for long. I forget the injury that they were saying.
Is it a calf strain? Is that what it was?
Yeah,
or
it's
something?
left-
It
Yeah.
was like the outer
That's
half
what.
or
Yeah,
something.
that's what it was. Yeah.
Apparently, there's no damage to the Achilles. That's what they were worried about.
Yeah.
But it's just a left calf strain, so I don't know how long he's going to be out, but it should
I
be
think the recovery
right.
says if it's like kind of minor, it's like 3 days. But otherwise, it could be a couple weeks.
Just
I
sit,
mean-
just sit.
Yeah, I would just
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's-
no,
it's-
I don't,
it's
I
really
don't think
not
he should
worth it
play the
because-
rest of the season.
For sure, with him out, I mean, all hope goes from like a 50 to a 2. So
I also don't know why the Bucks play the Celtics so well.
yeah,
Like every time in the regular season, I always look and they're up by 20 every single time, and then they get in the playoffs and they're like, "Yeah, we don't really want to play the Celtics anymore." It's like I just don't understand what they have in the regular season that they can't do in the playoffs.
it's got to be a mentality thing, right? Like there's no pressure on them there except
Maybe.
winning the
I don't
game.
know.
But like
Some teams just play better against certain teams. The Grizzlies kind of had the Golden State's number for a couple of years. Even when we were bad, we always gave Golden State a game, even when they had Durant. Just some teams, when you have a rivalry with them, just they show up to play. Seems like there was more will, more desire to win the game than say like against the Sixers or somebody when they were bad.
And now that you mention rivalry, I do like that within the past like 5 years, the Celtics Bucks rivalry kind of reignited. It's so good to watch now. Because to me, I think that the Celtics are a bigger threat and overall bigger rivalry at this point than the Bulls. Like I feel like the Bulls just aren't really, the one that we're against anymore. I feel like it's been the Celtics for a little bit. But what do you guys think is the problem with the Bucks here? Because I mean, I could always blame the game management, like the rotation, how that's been done. But it's almost to the point where it happens so often that you can't really blame that. So
I would just say like playing down to your competition. They've lost to 3 teams that aren't even going to make it to the postseason recently. So
Yeah.
that's one big thing for me.
mhm.
Take care of the easy stuff first, and then worry about the difficult stuff. And they aren't even taking care of the quote-unquote easy games, which is a big concern.
Yeah. And that can be, I mean, again, that can be talked about like the game management. Like they're probably just overlooking these teams, which happens a lot. I feel like it's happened way more than it should have. It even happened earlier in the season, probably I think it was towards the beginning where we lost to the Brooklyn Nets, where we were up at that game and then we somehow lost it. So frustrating.
Maybe Adrian Griffin wasn't the problem.
I wouldn't say that.
I think there's a deeper rooted issue beyond coaching. I'm not saying the fault should be fully taken away from Doc, but just from what we've seen recently, there just seems to be a lot of disconnect between the players and coaching, and it just seems like it's been that way throughout the entire season. And the Bucks are my main team, but because of how bad the Grizzlies have been, I've been following them a lot more. And there just seems to be I don't know, there's just no connection there. Boston is just fluid. They have so much depth. They, genuinely enjoy like playing the game of basketball. And it just seems at times Dame just will chuck up a three. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like the 14 seconds on the shot clock, he's 3 for 13 on the game from 3-point line. You're down by 4 with 7 minutes to go. Why are you shooting it from the logo? Some of their shot selections make no sense. It just seems like they really don't care. And either Doc needs to step up and do something, or maybe there's just a deeper rooted issue that we, the public, don't see.
So you say there could be a potential locker room issue?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And there just seems to be a disconnect just with the team.
Yeah.
In previous years, especially the year they won the title, I mean, there was just so much energy, connection together. Giannis was, at the forefront of that team. But just now, it just seems like the addition of Dame was supposed to get them over the hump. They were supposed to be a 55-plus win team with Boston this year. And even though they are still the 2 seed, they're not anywhere near Boston's level. Boston is the clear-cut favorite in the East, and especially with the Bucks' recent struggles, they can't contend with Boston in a 7-game series. They did win last night, yes, but that was still without Kristaps. And believe it or not, big men and Kristaps makes a huge difference on that Celtics team. The Bucks playing the way they are right now, they'll be lucky to get out of the second round, and they will not hang with Boston in a 7-game series.
Wow. I think that's a hot take for them to not make it past a second, but that's just me.
I think it's just completely an effort thing for me. I've always said throughout both these coaches that it's totally a player issue. I mean, you watch these games against the Raptors and the Grizzlies and the Wizards, 3 of like the worst teams in the NBA, by the way.
Yeah, they are.
And I mean, you watch them. And they're just,
Owns up to it.
well, for this year, yeah. But I mean, you just watch them and they are just not. They don't seem like they're having fun. They don't seem like they want to be there. Seems like they think, oh, we have Giannis and we have Dame. We're just going to win the game because we have these 2 guys. But then when you play against the Celtics, watch the whole game, and it looks like they're having fun, like they're making good passes, making good decisions, taking good shots. I mean, Dame didn't even take that many shots. I think he only took like maybe 10, I think, the entire game. And, I mean, they still won. He shot very efficiently. Forgive me, it was 11. But he still shot efficiently, and he still, like, impacted the win. And, I mean, that's what it all comes down to, sacrifice. I mean, when you play with another perennial all-star guy like Dame and Giannis do, there's some sacrifices that have to be made, whether that's Dame becoming more of a catch-and-shoot guy or Giannis posting up more. You just have to figure it out. I mean, we've seen this with, like, LeBron and Kyrie, Curry and Durant, Jokic and Murray. I mean, they all had to sacrifice some part of their game to be able to play together, and it turned into championships. So I don't know if Dame's just not comfortable playing with another all-star, if he's just not comfortable in the system. I don't really know what it is, but I just know that they need to give effort, because when they play like this, like, they can beat the Celtics. They can do it. They have the talent to do it. They have the team to do it. But they just need to show that they want it and just put the effort to do it.
I agree. And I mean, I know it's been said like a dozen times, but I feel like it is a major impact when a coach is changed mid-season. That definitely does change like the mentality of the team and like what they're going for, and it's a completely different like change of pace. So that could also, have some mindset of their mentality. But I feel like you really hit it home with them talking about like, splitting it up. They had it figured out for a little bit. Like, they had a good pace, and then all of a sudden, here we are again, and it's just, miscommunication. It's just non-consistency. I would really hope for it to not be a locker room issue, because then that can lead to something else completely different. But it's almost looking like that, if it's going to affect their mentality this much, because, after a coach is changed, they do get a rhythm, and then it shouldn't be a problem anymore. So it deepens the question.
I have a lot that I could say on this. I'll just say a couple of things. The energy isn't there, and I understand that it's like, at some point it's the player, but that's the coach's job. Like, Doc Rivers he needs to get on players' cases. Like, it doesn't matter if Giannis, won a ring and he's this big guy. You have to call him out when he's screwing up, or Dame, or, Middleton, or anybody. You have to be direct, and you have to make sure that they're giving effort. And it just seems like there's a lot of working parts, and they're not working together. They don't seem to be letting plays develop. Like you were saying, like 14 seconds on the shot clock, and they're just throwing up a shot. If they let plays develop, like when they play the Celtics, it seems like they let plays develop. There's always a guy wide open. It doesn't matter if it's Pat Bev who made some shots, or it's Dame or Brooke who was hot, but they let plays develop. Good things happen. I just think that they're not. It seems like a lot of people are trying to do their own thing. We saw this with the Lakers when they got Russ and Carmelo, a lot of stars, but they didn't work together. And I just think the problem is they're not close. Like, Doc Rivers needs to sit down and say, you guys gotta want this, especially Dame and them. They don't have a lot of Dame, especially. He only has a couple of years left, probably.
So
So
sad.
I know, but they have to get angry and show that they want this. The Celtics always are, like, you can tell that they're going after something, where the Bucks are just kind of like, we're here, we're trying to win. But their offense really needs to get together. Injuries as well. It's kind of like the Suns. They haven't really had a lot of games where all three, Giannis, Dame, and Middleton, are playing. But if they want a chance in the playoffs, they have to become closer. They have to understand their role, and they have to give it all. Like, if they're in 48 minutes, they got to give 48 minutes. They got to play. So
I agree. Yeah, I feel like that's been a problem with Doc, not just here, but in his past teams
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about fun. Something that would not be fun is they will probably either have to play the Sixers or the Heat in the first round. That's not fun. I mean, unless the Pacers drop these last three games and the Sixers win these last three games, you're likely to play either the Sixers or the Heat. And yeah, like we were talking about, I just don't understand why Doc Rivers was pushing these players so much. Like, we've read reports that Pat Bev, Middleton, Giannis have all kind of been dealing with injuries. You were big at the Celtics. You don't need Giannis to play every single minute of every single game just because he's Giannis. So I feel like, not that like the Bucks deserve this to happen, but I feel like this is kind of a wake up call for Doc to realize, like, oh, just because, like you were saying, I have Giannis and Dame, that doesn't mean I can take Giannis and Dame for granted. Like, you can let Giannis sit 3 to 5 minutes each quarter, and that's okay. Like, especially because they were up at one point, I think, like 25 against the Celtics. Like, you don't need to play him every single second. And they only won by 15, which seems like a lot, but the Celtics took 0 free throws in that entire game, which is insane.
Wow.
So even if they take 12 free throws, that makes it a much closer game than a 15-point game. So I feel like, I don't know. I feel like at some point, yes, the players have to kind of come together and get something going. But like they were saying, Doc has to be a coach and kind of take that leadership and be like, all right, here's where we're struggling. Here's what we can do, and make it better before these last 3 games are up and you're in the playoffs as a 2 seed playing against Joel Embiid.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. But we're going to stay local, and we're going to go over something that was released today. And that is the Green Bay Packers going to, I believe it's Brazil
Correct.
for their first game. Yep, that's going to be that Friday of opening week. And they're going against the Eagles. So it's honestly, it's a shock that they're doing a global game within the first week, because usually they wait till about like week 5, 8 to do a global game. And I don't remember hearing one being in Brazil. So is this the first one that's going to be there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, that is huge.
If I am correct, Green Bay is also the only team that was the last team to do a London game. So that is kind of a big difference in Brazil and London here. So
Yeah,
I don't know
wow.
what's up with that, really.
Interesting. When did they go to London?
Now they played the Giants. Was that 2 years ago, or was
Yeah.
it last?
Oh,
year?
yeah, you're right. I do remember that
They
game.
lost
Yeah.
that game.
They
That's
lost
right.
that game because
Yeah.
that was when they were not doing so hot.
Yeah. That was the one with the cool camera angle when they first introduced that.
Yeah.
So cool.
I think with the way the NFL's gone with all these international games, especially with the 17-game season, because a lot of teams have been complaining about losing a home game or playing overseas. I think every team should have one international game a year because of how much the NFL wants to do it. And I wouldn't be opposed to having one international game a week, and then that way you still have 8 home games, 8 road games, and every team gets an international game. Just a thought that I had after seeing the Packers go to Brazil.
I like that. You spread diversity and you get an equal amount. I like that.
I just think the time difference is the biggest thing because in London, the game here starts at 9:30,
yeah, it's pretty early.
which is like fine because 9:30. I mean, yes, it's a
It's
Sunday,
not
but
the end of the world.
yeah, but I feel like for some people, they're kind of like, oh, I forgot there was a game today.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like they do
And it's a fantasy killer
Yeah.
too.
and they do a decent job at advertising it, but once Sunday comes, you're just like, oh yeah, there's already been a full game by the time the countdown show starts, and it's just kind of a little weird.
So if you did an international game every week, it would solve that problem.
No, yeah, I agree.
Did they announce the time that the game's gonna start
I
here, or what's going on?
don't
It'll
know.
have to
what-
be.
it's
I
on a
don't know how
Friday.
far.
I only heard
What's
of
the
this
time difference?
by.
That's what I'm
Question.
saying.
I only heard of this from Joe maybe probably an hour ago. So
What time
I'm.
is it in
They're
Brazil?
2 hours ahead of us, so
that's not
it would
terrible.
probably be like 6 o'clock.
Yeah, it'd be like a 5.
5:30, 6 o'clock
Wow.
Friday night game. I'm
Oh,
excited.
oh yeah, no, that's fine. That's a
That's-
Friday night. That's
Gonna
perfect.
be an electric atmosphere in Brazil. Those fans know how to party.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious why they did this. I mean, this is the first, well, first of all, this is the first Friday game in 54 years to start the season. And I think, it's obvious, Brendan kind of hinted at it. I mean, they want to go global. I mean, we've been having London games, we've had, Mexico games. I think they're really trying to, especially having it week 1, too, the first game of the season in Brazil. I think they're really trying to branch out, and they're really trying to expand this, especially with now flag football being in the Olympics. They're trying to make this sport as global as possible. So I think it's probably a good marketing strategy to have that be the first game, of the entire season, be international. But I definitely think they're trying to spread out.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a good game too against the Eagles. I can't wait to see that.
It's definitely interesting because the Eagles were definitely going on a downward spiral towards the end of last year, and now they got Saquon and they did all this additions and everything. So they definitely want to that head coach is on the hot seat right now apparently. So
Oh, Sirianni? Yeah,
yeah.
Rightfully so.
yeah, I would say so.
Hey,
After
don't do that. He's a D3 guy.
I am a Nick Sirianni hater.
Oh boy, you like to hate a lot on a lot of things. I see.
You just disagree with me on everything. So.
I mean, I don't know what it is about the fishbowl, but there's always one person in there that's a constant hater.
Because it's so hot.
Yeah.
It's so hot.
It's so negative.
Yeah, our attitudes are just down, man.
But before we go into the next topic, I want to know where would you want the next new global game to be?
As far away as it is, I think Australia would be cool.
Ooh,
I
Australia.
think their time difference is really big, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's almost like
I think it's like 10 hours or
It
something.
yeah,
is.
it's
insane.
It's like half a
If-
day.
Yeah.
If I think they should do this as well if they're gonna go for more international games. I think, like you were saying, we should start playing on different days. Like Fridays, you could do
Have a game every day of the week.
Exa-
You know,
you can have I think they should start expanding that because you get to Monday and you're like, all right, now sit a couple days, nothing happens. Whereas the NBA, you're like, oh, good matchup tonight, there's a good matchup tomorrow. And I think if you're going international, I guess different cultures have different it's not Saturday, Sunday is the weekend or whatever, but I would like to see more games throughout the week, obviously to keep you more entertained, but I think I like the idea of them spreading out. It's a good idea, but I would like to see it in Australia personally.
Australia is crazy, man. I'm not a fan of Australia because they got stuff there that's out of this world. But
Yeah, I mean, screw it. Like Tokyo, China.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I was
over
thinking.
there.
Like Tokyo,
Tokyo
yeah.
would be legend.
I think that'd be huge.
One that I have is Ireland. I think that'd be chill.
That's another good
that'd
one.
Be cool because
That'd be rowdy.
Coach Gwynn, the soccer coach here, told us a story in class yesterday about how he went back to Ireland over spring break and he was at a soccer game and there was just people completely arguing with the players in the middle of the games. There was 10-year-olds in the fans calling the players names and everything, and it was just gnarly.
It's just different.
It's
over there.
different. Yeah, it's almost dangerous. But that's probably why they haven't went there.
dangerous. Almost dangerous being a fan there, man. I would pay for a ticket to have a football game there. To be honest,
Is there one in Spain?
I don't think there's been one.
No.
I think it was just Germany,
Yeah,
London,
yeah.
Mexico, and now Brazil.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
they're
that's it.
planning on having one in
Okay.
Spain. I wouldn't
Yeah.
quote me on that, but I've I'm sure they were planning
I
on
feel
it.
like Spain, Italy, like
Yeah.
those two would be kind of cool. I mean,
Italy would
obviously,
be fun.
you're kind of getting like soccer fans, and soccer fans are just a different type of animal. I mean, getting soccer fans into football, like obviously, they're not used to people hitting each other in soccer because obviously you can't do that. So like getting these people just amped up before the game and just having them basically watch a less dangerous rugby. Well, maybe not less dangerous,
Yeah,
but like
Now it is.
yeah, now
my
yeah.
Oh no,
But
he's
yeah.
negative
Not
again.
again.
Don't start him again, please.
But yeah, I just feel like getting these kind of like soccer fans into the NFL would be a really big addition to the NFL.
It would definitely help the sport a lot. But with that being said, we're going to move on to our second topic. Only second topic. Swing bada bada. We're just going to be going over the first few games or a few weeks of the MLB season. If you guys, how many of you guys have hot takes? Just curious. No? Okay. Well, was that a hand raise?
He's got an iffy
Yes
hand
and no.
raise.
Okay. Well, we'll get to it. I was just curious because I know some people normally do, but and everybody in here is a Brewers fan, right? Right?
No.
Yeah.
You're not? Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're Guardians. I forgot. Yeah.
Brewers are number 2.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like the way that the Brewers have been starting. I mean, yeah, it's only like a few games so far, but it's still really impressive to where they are right now. And with Churio being like up top in terms of like prospect ranking, I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. So I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on, what you guys thought of the MLB season thus far. We're going to start with Austin this time.
They're kind of the opposite of the Bucks. They seem to really have it all together, and they're playing as one. And I used to watch baseball. I kind of went away with it, and this season I've been watching some of the Brewers games, and it's exciting. It's actually an exciting game. I mean, the Mets series obviously was a really good start, but Yelich, I don't think he's going to go back to his MVP form, but I do think that he's having a very good season, and if he can keep that up, they're a pretty dangerous team, as well as Churio is, like, if he can keep, like, climbing the ladder, so to speak, he's going to be a really good player for the Brewers, and if they can keep him, then I'm not going to say anything too, like, they just... I don't know. It's exciting. Again, like you said, it's pretty early on, but I've really liked how our offense has looked. It's been really exciting, and you got young guys and they're playing well, so you can't really ask for more than that.
I mean, yeah, I disagree with you on your Yelich pick. I think he can be similar to how he played there. I wouldn't put him in MVP conversation already, but
That's what I'm saying. He's doing really well.
yeah.
He just has to hold it for this season.
And I think he can. I mean, he's been pretty consistent as of
Yeah.
lately. I mean, he hits a home run pretty often, a lot more often than he did
Yeah.
last year already, but
Yeah, for me, I think something that us Brewers fans have been waiting for is they're being aggressive at the plate, which is something we're not really used to. I feel like for the past 3 to 5 years, it's always been like, oh, they have really good pitching, but they score 1 run a game. So it's kind of the opposite now, actually. And it's weird to say that the pitching is kind of taken a downhill this last week or so. I mean, you have like Pyomps, who has an 8 ERA. Ashby,
Wow, that
Ashby
spiked.
just got called down, and he's at a 9. Uribe and Vieira are tied at a 6.75. So these are like the down the stretch guys that in like game 2 or 3 of a series that you need to like count on. They're not doing the greatest, and I feel like that in the Twins game in the last one, that's kind of what hurt them was their down the stretch guys gave up, I think it was 5 runs in 1 inning. So I feel like if the batting can stay aggressive and like this, obviously scoring, what are they at? 5.5 runs per game, which obviously is really good. But if you have pitchers who can't pitch down the stretch, then it's going to become a problem.
yeah, it's honestly kind of crazy how it like flipped like that. Because I mean, for years it was the pitching, and then we couldn't get the hitting, and now we have the hitting but not the pitching. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. I feel like the
Yeah.
pitching is going to come into play within probably maybe a month.
Yeah, because Miley's coming back. He's in the minors right now
Mhm.
pitching, and then Devin Williams obviously is out right now, but I think he's coming back within the month. So
Yeah, that'll help us catch up.
I just think it's interesting, especially in the NL Central, that like the two teams that were like the most unknown are currently like the top two teams in the division. I think I don't know if it was a Wednesday or Thursday show that I talked about the Pirates being a potential surprise team, and that they're 9-3, and they're right now tied. They have the second most wins in the whole entire league, and that's with the Dodgers playing 2 more games than them. Like, it's definitely impressive to see what the Brewers have done. I'm excited to see what they do, especially like maybe not this year, but as they like grow together and mesh. Like, this could be a team that competes for like a World Series victory, hopefully. But for me, like the Pirates, like nobody expected this. Like they're plus 19 differential, which is one of the best in the league, and they're doing much better than some teams that some thought were going to be, in that World Series race, such as like the Braves. I know the Braves have been really good. The Braves and the Pirates both have the same amount of runs scored, so maybe that's something to look at. But the Pirates, man, nobody expected that.
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't expect the Pirates. I mean, they've been pretty trash the past few years. Do you think they're going to keep it up like that?
I think so. Like I think one thing that's really weird about them is they don't play well at home. They're 3-2.
They never
at
really
home.
have.
But
Yeah.
they're 6-1 on the road, which is so weird to me. But I would expect them to. I mean, especially as a team that nobody thought. Maybe they ride a high and they have a few bumps along the season, but I'd expect them to make the playoffs and potentially win a game or series or two.
Interesting. Okay, I would consider that a hot take.
All right.
At this point, yeah.
So Brewers have started a lot better than I expected them to. My 2 contenders in that division are between the Cubs and the Brewers. I really wasn't that big on the Cardinals this year, but of the 4 other teams between the Reds, Pirates, Brewers, Cubs, I think this is probably one of the most competitive divisions in the MLB. It really just depends on what team gets hot come August, September. Pirates have started out hot. Brewers have started out hot. Cubs offense looks amazing, and the Reds are just overall a fun team to watch. I don't think they're quite there yet. To your point, Mason, the Pirates have started off really well, but they also started, I want to say 9-4 last year as well, and O'Neal Cruz ended up going down.
Yeah, they started 20-9 last year.
Yeah, so they were really, really hot last year. O'Neal Cruz went down. But as for the Brewers, they've looked quite good. No one was really expecting this much of an offensive showcase this early on in the season. A lot of people were concerned about that, especially a new manager. What's this team really going to look like? Are they going to be buying or selling come the deadline? And when you have a manager that believes in its players, this team can actually go far. And I think it's going to come down between them and the Cubs. Right now, I give a slight edge to the Cubs just because of how just insane the Cubs' offense has been recently. But the Brewers are definitely making a case to be a wild card team or even win the NL Central, which prior to this season, I really wasn't that sold on them. I was going to follow them just because they're my second team. But they've pleasantly surprised me thus far. So good on them so far, and hopefully the Murph era will continue.
Yeah, I'm really loving how Murph is right now. I mean, he's got like that old ball mentality, which really helps us. And I'm so glad that Cubs fans get to experience Craig Counsell in the pitching situation, like taking him out at the wrong times. So nice. Like, I forget who they were playing against. It may have been San Diego, but they were like up 8-0, and then they lost that game.
Yep.
I was surrounded by Cubs fans, and I was so happy to see them cry, dude. It was so good. I'm sorry, but like Cubs fans to me are like, I can't stand them. They may be the worst. Okay, nobody in here is a Cubs fan, right?
I despise the Chicago
Okay.
Cubs with every fiber.
All right,
of my
perfect.
being.
Perfect. So I'm not alone. I feel like Cubs fans are the worst fans, but I love them if they're good people. But
2016, I've never fully recovered from.
Yeah, I was gonna say ever since they won the World Series, they're like, but in 2016 we did this. It's like,
yeah,
cool.
dude.
That
yeah.
was the worst day of my life when the Indians, formerly Indians, now lost in the World Series, because going to school the next day and hearing like the Go Cubs Go over the intercom and like all the casuals like, oh my God, did you see the Cubs end of the streak? Stop talking. Oh my gosh. The entire day. But the Guardians are 8-3, and we have the best run differential in baseball. So,
Yeah, good for you. You're on
Best team
top.
in baseball.
You're on top. Okay.
No.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting start to the season. Dodgers look as advertised. They're only the second team to 10 wins right now with the Yankees. The Cubs look pretty decent, but not that great. I mean, they were 2 of the 5 losses that the Dodgers have. Brewers, obviously, I wasn't really high on them too. I think I mentioned that a couple times in the show, just because of how heavily they've relied on their pitching. But I kind of like this different direction they're going in. They're kind of getting a little bit younger, looking to some younger guys like Churio, who has played fantastic so far. It's almost like a Moneyball kind of situation. They're taking these guys that you don't think are going to like mesh that well together. And I mean, they're playing great. I mean, you have, I believe it's Contreras. Yeah, Contreras is leading. He's got a 375 batting average, which is, I mean, really good. You got Yelich, who's now starting to return to MVP form. He's looked very good. 4 home runs. So I do like the direction that they're going in. I definitely think that we needed a voice change, I think. I mean, we've been just
I think it was definitely that's the biggest thing.
because we were just doing the same thing for so long. Is like we would get a lot of wins, we would do well, get by on our pitching, and then when it comes to the playoffs, we just choke. I know there's so many times that my dad would be watching them and he'd be like, "Yeah, this could be our year. We could actually go far," and then they would lose, and it just wasn't great. But it's been an interesting start to the season. The Houston Astros are the big surprise team for me. They have not done that well at all. I think they're like 4-8. And it's kind of like the Yordan Alvarez show. I mean, no one else is really stepping up on that team. It's just literally him and maybe Altuve. But, yeah, biggest surprise for me is Astros. They have not performed well.
And they can stay like that.
They can stay. Yeah.
I hope they stay like that for the next 30 years, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah, they're cheaters, man.
yeah.
Sure, you're not in the fishbowl back here.
Dude, I can't. The only other team I hate more than the Cubs is the Astros. So I'll defend that till death. But we have 4 minutes, so we actually can do final thoughts. Wow, only the 3rd time this semester.
Yes.
Very cool.
Awesome. So with that being said, we're gonna go to Creston.
Yeah, I was scrolling through Instagram the other day and I read a stat that said Wembanyama has more career blocks than 86.6% of all NBA players in NBA history.
Wow.
That is absolutely
Wow.
insane.
He
to
is
me.
probably taller than like.
No, I get that, but 86%
As a
of
rookie.
every single player
Yeah,
that has
that is
ever played
impressive.
That's
in year
yikes.
1.
Yeah.
That is,
He could pass Akeem one day, possibly, if he stays healthy.
yeah.
If he gets bigger.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
No, this has been an absurd rookie season.
It's one of the best.
Not the greatest news. The Falcons have recently signed Kevin King as a cornerback.
Sorry for your loss.
I know. I hope that he is just a body to go hit out there. And
He's a camp body.
Yeah, I really hope that's what it is. But I just, a little more on the Falcons. I keep seeing them sign more somewhat like practice squad guys, but I'm so excited.
You can't
for
pay
this
anybody.
season.
You signed Cousins like $80 million.
It's true.
We had plenty of cap space, but
Well, you used it on Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, well, we had, for my final thoughts, we had 2 very good college games, college national champions. National champions, we had UConn for the men's side, and then we had South Carolina for the women's side. One thing I kind of took away from that, I was really surprised at how the women, like the WNBA women, are hating on the college women. Because, I mean, they've brought so much exposure to the sport. So, like, why are you hating on the people that are, like, going to get you
It's definitely
more money,
odd.
more tickets?
Mhm.
I don't get that. But congratulations to UConn. I didn't think they were going to beat. There's no way Purdue was winning that game. So
Agreed.
The Nashville Predators are playoff bound. Bang, by the way. They were projected in the preseason. They were 23rd out of the 32 teams in the league. One of the youngest rosters. Expected them to go, 37-45. My initial expectations for the season. And right before spring break, I should say, everything kind of clicked. The team really stepped up. Very excited to be watching hockey. I've watched more hockey than I ever have this year, mainly because of how bad the Grizzlies have been. So kind of transitioned to hockey, and it's been fun. I'm so into it. The Predators have been very awesome to watch, very fun team to watch, best fan base, and I'm very excited to see them in the playoffs.
For my final thought, I'm a big Cooper DeJean fan. I think there's 2 teams that really fit his skill set really well with his scheme fit in general. I think that's the Green Bay Packers and the Indianapolis Colts. As a result, I think the Green Bay Packers are going to trade up to number 14 with the New Orleans Saints to select Cooper DeJean. New Orleans does not have a pick from pick 45 to pick 150, and Green Bay has a ton of picks in that range.
That is going to be interesting. But with that being said, that's going to do it here for us on Hawk Talk 91.7 The Edge WSUW Whitewater. And for this upcoming weekend, it is Edge Fest starting tomorrow at 7:30. and we'll go until Friday and Saturday night. So please come to Jitters and join us for the 3 days of Edge Fest. With that being said, we're going to get you back to some more music here on the station. 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater. Have a great day.